This is the primal scream of a dying regime.
Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. You're just not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
It's Wednesday, 15 July, year of our Lord 2026. There is a lot going on in Washington, D.C. and around the world. We're going to get to all that. Todd Blanche is being grilled to be confirmed as Attorney General of the United States. Jay Clayton, I think not so much. We're going to get to Clayton. I'm sure they're going to go after him on what's going to happen Thursday night, at least as currently scheduled. Let's put the pin in that and say it's currently scheduled. Bolling's going to join me in a second. I want to thank Birch Gold. I think now more than ever, we got a lot of economic news, and obviously the world's in turbulence. There's all types of reporting out there, including at Axios. They got a scoop that the White House not backed off of. The President Trump yesterday spent and this is Axios reporting, the White House has not denied this, but the president spent a significant amount of time in the Situation Room with a potential massive bombing campaign. Now, I think they're actually, one of the alternative plans is infrastructure. Oil infrastructure, bridges, power plants, all of it. I think that's the third part, but they clearly are going after additional radar sites, missile launching sites, things that heretofore I believe we were told it's all gone. Maybe not, because this is a quite big escalation, so we'll get to all that. I think now more than ever, Birch Gold, take your phone at text Bannon, Bannon 989898. That's the simplest way. All the information is free. There's no obligation, so you have nothing to lose. Let's try to get you smarter about the world's capital markets and about physical assets like gold, oil, other things not related to the U.S. dollar. I guess related to the U.S. dollar. You can't say it's unrelated. But there's going to be a lot of pressure on the U.S. dollar. Philip Patrick's going to join me Saturday, and we're going to go through some of these massive deficits we're running. It turns out the reconciliation is $350 billion, and it's a big increase to defense spending already over and top of the $1.1 trillion we just authorized. So we'll get into all that. Also, Home Title Lock's got the special on the 250th anniversary. It's 25% off. HometitleLock.com/Steve25. Talk to Natalie Dominguez and the team about the $1 million triple lock protection, protects you against AI and cyber, rogue lawyers, rogue accountants, rogue significant other. Has anybody ever had that? Don't know. But protection, in case you do, protect your title, because 90% of your net worth is tied up in that title of that home. Every dream you ever had. 25% off, 2-year. Natalie Dominguez and the team will give you the full breakdown. Eric Bolling, we're going to get back to Todd in a moment, but a lot of economics. So the 20% of which I was joyous about, although it goes against free navigation, but hey, somebody's got to pay for it. You were not so, you were once again taking your trader mentality and say, hey, look at these numbers. When people wake up to the amount of money we're taking off our vigorish on each ship of the Saudis, they're going to build bigger pipelines, or they're not going to do this. The president did say later in the day he had taken a couple of 3 calls, I don't know, randomly, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar. And upon further review, he changed it to a trade and investment deal. Your observations on that first before you get to the inflation numbers, sir.
So when it came out, and Steve, to be honest, you're the first one who told me about the 20%. We happened to be going on that changeover in the 4 o'clock show, and I was like, wow, that's a big. And we did quick pencil to paper math, and it was $32 million per crude oil vessel that goes through. Sometimes 80, 90, 100 crude oil vessels pass through that Gulf in a day, and that number comes to close to $500 billion, $32 million per vessel. Later that evening, I saw at 6:30 evening news, ABC pointed out $32 million a vessel. And I think maybe it got back to the White House that this is a huge number. And here's what happened. Problem is, once that number was released, oil was trading around $69 a barrel. The minute that came out, Steve, it jumped up $10, 75, 77, 78. It's trading 80, 81 right now. And on top of it, I'm talking to my trader friends this morning, and they're now saying that for the 110 days that we were kind of blockaded, there was a lot of excess crude oil sitting in storage tanks around the world, and they worked through a lot of it. So it's a week to week. Is it going to be higher? Is it going to be lower? And I'll give you one more derivative of that. So we jump up to $80 a barrel for West Texas Intermediate. That's ours because it's a global, oil's a global market. Pump prices just hit $3.90. It's on the way back up already. We spent, 3 weeks lower in price, and we're headed back up in pump prices. Again, at the wrong time. We look at the Democrats, socialists around the country working to say the free market capitalism is unaffordable. You need socialism. You need Democrat socialism. We lose the midterms, we're screwed as a country. So I would love to see a $3, $2.50 a gallon gasoline. But again, I think that ship has sailed going into the midterms because we spend so much time futzing around with a bunch of fanatics that want to kill us no matter what.
Here's the reality. We look at the polling, the real polling, not either the left making a case or the hawks trying to make a case. The American people are just not disengaged in it. They're just not that engaged in the Iran situation. You got to be blunt about it. It's an Israel deal. They're just not that engaged in it. And even the nuclearization or the nuclear weapons doesn't have a lot of traction. Clearly, you don't want to get a nuclear weapon, but you ended the 12-day war with total obliteration. Now, they may have some, nuclear dust or some other things that can all be taken care of some other way besides full-scale war. The president magnificently brought the 12-day war to an end without regime change and holding Netanyahu and this crowd back that started with the decapitation move on that first Thursday night and Friday. The nation is just not engaged in it, but they see that this has taken away its opportunity cost, a major focus on the domestic economy and what we need to do mass deportations and everything else that President Trump was voted in for overwhelmingly in a landslide. And war with Iran at the bequest of Bibi Netanyahu in the Greater Israel Project. And President Trump was blunt the other day. He said he had a phone call, and they leaked the phone call. And the phone call, he told Netanyahu, I want you out of Syria, and I want you out of Lebanon. I was southern Lebanon. That is ending, from his mind, the Greater Israel Project, right? Now, if Israel wants to do this, and I say, prove you're not a vassal state, prove that you're not a protectorate of the United States. You're a sovereign nation. Let's stop the military aid, giving you billions of dollars military aid. Just buy everything. We can't do, Section 219. We can't merge the industrial bases, the defense industrial base. We can't merge the intelligence. That's just asking for problems, right? You guys are your own independent nation. And if you want to do that, and I recommend you do it, if you want to get Jack Keane and these guys on Fox and Mark Thiessen, give Mark Thiessen a volunteer for the IDF, put them in uniform, get some tanks, head right up to Beirut, head right up to Damascus, and hell, take a tank column, put Jack Keane in it, and go to Tehran. We don't give a damn. Go do what you got to do as a sovereign nation. But right now, right with this new escalation that's coming up and kind of thinking it through, and President Trump trying to figure out, because we're about to get a wake-up call on the financial side here. We can't afford, the United States of America, cannot afford $88 billion, $100 billion, $200 billion just to kind of create it at a treasury and hope the Chinese buy the bonds at a certain rate so that we can pay for it. That cannot happen. That is what's putting us in jeopardy, and it's taking away focus on what President Trump was voted for overwhelmingly and would be voted for. Hell, we should be talking about picking up seats in the House. We should be talking about picking up 2 or 3 seats in the Senate. Yet we're talking about playing defense and maybe losing because the focus has shifted to a war that nobody knew we were getting into, nobody wanted, and that President Trump, with magnificent clarity, ended in 12 days back in June of last year. Eric Bolling, the floor is yours.
Steven, I love this, Steve Bannon. Where have you been? Oh my, Bannon, for 100 days, I said, let's get the hell out of the Middle East. Let them go kill each other. We don't give a damn about their freaking Strait of Hormuz. Let them go. And I was getting bombarded by the Bannon war. I'm saying, oh, we got to take care of them. Aren't you afraid of missiles? I said, well, I'm really afraid of midterm elections because we got Democrats, socialists around the country. We have a Sharia creep. We have Islam invading our big cities. We have people in our largest city in the world.
But hold on, hang on. Islam is.
But
go
you
ahead.
said something very important, Steve. Very important.
Yes.
You said Americans aren't engaged in whether or not the regime change in Iran. They're not. You know what they're engaged in, Steve? They're engaged in a $4 gallon gasoline. Because most people aren't Steve Bannon or Eric Bolling, where we can go and fill up whatever car we're driving. Most people in America, in fact, 2/3 of America can't afford a $600 tire change if they have a blowout. They're living paycheck to paycheck. So yeah, that $4, that $100 fill up on their truck hurts them when they see it and they care about a lower price. I don't think the administration is thinking about those folks, which is a vast majority of MAGA base included. I see Kevin Hastert out there taking a freaking victory lap because inflation ticked down from 3.9% to 3.6%. That is double where it should be. It's triple where it was Trump 1.0. This is no victory. This is a short-lived 5-minute respite on an inflation number that's going to spike again as oil prices are spiking as we speak. We need to get the numbers down. We need to tell the folks in America, America is affordable. Trump policy is affordable American living, not live paycheck to paycheck and not be able to take your wife out to freaking dinner maybe once a month because you can't afford it. I don't think the administration is listening to those people. And I love this Steve Bannon who just said, what the hell are we doing there? We're not going to get any regime change. We'll never have regime change with the Iranians. So let's save our own ass.
If you watch the show, that's been our mantra. I've been economic warfare. The kinetic part of this is ridiculous. Also, the phone calls that President Trump got yesterday, and this is what we have to be realistic about this. We have an Islamic invasion of this country. We have a red-green alliance that runs New York City. They're all over Los Angeles, Chicago, Minneapolis. They're the John C. Calhouns of the 21st century in that they've nullified all federal law to be sanctuary cities. Yesterday, they got Mark Wayne Mullen to blink. Mike Davis got so hot about that, he calls me up right away and says, hey, I got to come on here. Because of one incident, you're going to shut down all traffic stops on getting rid of the bad hombres. You can't do that. So those are the things President Trump on. But the calls he got yesterday from the Gulf, the Gulf Arabs, Qatar and UAE and Saudi Arabia are no better. When in singling out Israel, the Gulf guys are actually, I think, even worse because they're the ones with Pakistan that are funding the Islamic invasion of the United States. That money's all coming from their oil monies. That's why I have no problem taking 20%. If you're going to keep the fleet there, let's go non-kinetic. No more bombing runs. We don't have to do that, but choke this regime down with economics, with sanctions, no oil to the Chinese Communist Party, no cash to the mullahs, all of it. And hey, if it takes 20% and that's their profits, then big deal. Why do we care about a bunch of corrupt monarchies that have double deltas all the time and have us now doing their work for them? Let's get the young princelies, MBS and his prince buddies, let's get them over to take Carg Island. MBZ, who's the best fighter pound for pound over there and actually has a pretty good little military, let's get them to take the cliffs of on the Straits of Hormuz right there. Let's get Qatar and all the money they've spread around, the billions of dollars they spread around to buy off people in the United States, right? Let's get that and get it to American citizens right now to pay for the tens of billions of dollars that we got to pay for somehow, and they got to pay for it now. You can't kick the can down the road. They're going up with a $350 billion, second or third reconciliation, and a big portion of that is military, and a big portion of that is missiles we fired, harpoons, we got Tomahawks, the Patriots, all of it. We got to restock and reload. It's no question we need it, but we need it in South Korea and we need it in the Taiwan Straits in defense of the chip factories on the island of Taiwan against, wait for it, the Chinese Communist Party. Bolling, is going to stick around.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Once again, our sponsors, want to thank our sponsors because we're dipping in and out of these hearings. We're going to get to Jay Clayton in a minute for DNI. Birch Gold. Like I said, Philip is going to be on the show on Saturday. We're going to go into depth, and particularly the budget deficits, what the outlook of that for the dollar, particularly when you match it against physical assets like gold and oil and other physical assets. birchgold.com/Bannon, End of the Dollar Empire, totally free. If you want to put your order in for the book, do it. It's backed up. We don't have copies yet, but all 7 installments that are in the book are free online. We have an 8th installment, and I'm about to approve a 9th. How about that? I want to make sure that you're up the learning curve. Jay Clayton. So there's 2 hearings going on at one time. It's Todd's getting lit up over at with Judiciary in to become Attorney General. Jay Clayton, on the other hand, is over, and he's Southern District of New York, former managing partner of Sullivan Cromwell. He's going for DNI, and they're trying to rush this through, bum rush it, so they can get Pulte out of there because Pulte's doing amazing work. Let's see, and they said they're going to confirm Jay Clayton by Friday. That's how petrified they are of that's how petrified they are of Pulte and the work that he's done, the historic work he's doing. Let's go ahead and see some of Jay Clayton's.
Let me go to the question of elections. You've claimed in the past that vote by mail is tainted, and I haven't seen any evidence of this. These are your exact quotations. You talk about, dishonesty in mail-in voting, and at one point you talked specifically about a group that was doing it. I think it would be very helpful to get a sense of who you're talking about. And I quote, "One group is using mail-in voting dishonestly." So you basically said you got a group out there who are election bandits. Who are we talking about?
Now, I would like to see where you're pulling those quotes from, because I've been very careful in my words on this. I've been very careful. Look, election integrity. I'd like to see the whole passage.
Send you the material.
Yeah, no, and I'm happy to answer. But let me tell you,
please.
That we should be. There are 2 parts to this. One is access, which is extremely important. Access to the ballot is something that I know this body, many people have worked hard for years and years. The other one is integrity. I'm a big believer that we can have better access than we've ever had before, and better integrity than we've ever had before.
All right.
And some of the constructs around our election, the integrity can be greatly improved.
Well, I want to see it because I want to know the names of the people that you're calling dishonest, because I'm the nation's first senator elected by mail. The second senator was a Republican, and we don't believe that this is tainted by fraud.
As I said repeatedly, if you're confirmed, you're going to make sure that you speak truth to power. Mm-hmm. And that means even if the truth is not the preferred narrative that somebody wants to hear. So let me just ask you, it should be a simple question. Do you deny that Joe Biden won the 2020 election?
Senator, I'm not an election denier. Joe Biden was certified as the president of the United States.
Election denial is something we cannot have. So I will take that as you do not deny that Joe Biden won the 2020 election.
Yeah, I'm not. I think, let me just be clear. We have substantial work to do, and I've made it in improving our electoral processes. It's part of national security, and I feel strongly about that.
Why did you take it upon yourself to opine on the California election process to CNBC? You said during the interview on CNBC, you said the U.S. is doing an absolutely terrible job on election integrity, and the American people are right to question it. What's the basis of that statement? What's the evidence for that statement?
Let me give you the context of the way I look at this, because we should have this kind of candid dialogue. Elections are a process for gathering, aggregating, and providing data.
And who does the Constitution entrust the responsibility for elections?
To the states in the case we're talking about.
Correct.
to the states in the case we're talking about. But my experience at the SEC, my experience at the DOJ, my experience in the private sector is that the government processes for gathering, aggregating, and providing data need to be improved greatly.
Are you talking about elections? Are you
I'm talking about all. I'm talking
about inflation data.
No, I'm talking about all government processes, including the one that's.
I want some evidence, and there isn't time here in a minute and 49 seconds, but you have a lot of time between now and when we move on your nomination. I would like a written analysis from you that gives evidence of voter fraud.
I don't.
Fraud in
to
this
be clear,
country, Mr. Clayton,
to
is
be clear,
is
Senator,
the assertion that there's voter fraud.
I am not. I did not make that assertion. I said I said
We're doing an absolutely terrible job on election integrity. What did that mean?
That meant that the audit trail that we have available for our elections in a number of places is not the kind of audit trail that you would expect in something that is this important. That's what it meant. And
that's mumbo jumbo. I think that disqualifies him right there. So we don't want the War Room Posse calling and for the confirmation of Jay Clayton. This is what I warned about. That's mumbo jumbo. Technically, he was certified on states that didn't want to certify him. Joe Biden did not. Why don't you say it out loud? Joe Biden did not win the 2020 election, and Joe Biden was illegitimate. And you're going to find out. And this guy's supposed to be in charge of what Pulte's doing, which is exposing the suppression of information of this by the intelligence services. This guy's going to be DNI. Would this guy be down in Georgia like Tulsi Gabbard was? Don't think so. So, like I said, you're getting full Sullivan and Cromwell right here. That right there is not acceptable to MAGA. That's just mumbo jumbo. That's just tap dancing. Let's have it. We are in a crisis. Well, how can you say that, Steve? What's the crisis? Oh, I don't know. We're in a Middle East war that we were driven into by America's greatest ally. And now we're defending people who are paying for an Islamic invasion of the United States. We're defending them and their resources. And we're paying for it at the same time that they're funneling money in here for a takeover of the country. And we've lost control of all the major metropolitan areas of the United States, these magnificent cities. New York City, Chicago, Minneapolis, Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles. I just throw out a random few. And we're about to lose Washington, D.C. with all the great efforts President Trump has had in Washington, D.C. to sort this mess out. You've got even the most radical of them is going to win in the Democratic city where they don't even count the Republican votes. I can tell you as a citizen there, they don't even count the Republican votes. Take it from the Republican district and take the mail on the mailman, just throw them away. Those were squish answers. He should have been prepared. Did somebody prep him? Is that what he really thinks? Is that what he really thinks in his heart? Well, then those answers are not acceptable. That's mumbo jumbo. Eric, the economy. Can you talk to me about the inflation number, sir?
So it's better. Like I said, we had oil come down from $105 down to $68. Gasoline, by the way, didn't hardly budge. It went from $3.90 to $3.80. Now it's back up to $3.89. It's going to be $4 by the end of the month. Temporary, short-lived. Hastert went on CNBC all over the place a couple of days in a row talking about yesterday's CPI. It was cooler than expected, but still 3.6%. The Fed is charged with a 2%. They have their own self-directed 2% inflation target. So they like to be at or below 2%. Trump had it down to 1.4 at the end of his first term. Biden brought it up to 9. And somehow 3.9 to 3.6 under Trump is a win. And by the way, that's going to go back up because oil is now skyrocketing yet again. Gas prices didn't come down. They're just going to launch from a higher launching pad. So look, I love what Trump. I have to qualify this because the War Room Posse gets so mad at me, but I'm just calling it the way I see it, Steve. It's not a Wall Street guy. It's not a Goldman Sachs guy. It's not my own trading book. I'm a guy who's done this for 25, almost 30 years, and watch this. I'm telling you the danger I've never seen in 30 years covering politics. I've never seen this country so opening their arms, almost embracing socialism because they call it democratic socialism. Why? Because we're foolish enough to elect these socialists or communists. It's the same system. Communism, socialism are the same system. The masses provide the work so that the bureaucrats can decide who gets what, and they get everything, and people starve to death. We're bringing the wolf into the hen house, a fox into the hen house, and say, have your way with us. Opening the door to this across the country. Bernie Sanders, Pocahontas, Mamdani, with the Republican running for one of the Senate seats says, we really need to think about the Somalians. Somalians are real important to us. And then you have Mark Wayne Mullen deciding he's not going to follow license plates now because somehow illegals might be upset that they're being tracked illegally. We're opening the door to socialism. We're opening the door to Islam. The country's changing rapidly. And so the only defense we have against that is to hold the House, hold the Senate, and hold the White House. And Steve, we ain't doing it at $4.50 or $5 a gallon. Sorry. But the class that votes, you mentioned Tommy Lahren. Tommy Lahren points out, what the hell are we doing here if we're electing people that aren't doing what they promised, and America still can't afford to put food on the table or gas in the tank.
When you lose, we'll put that up. I get up on Getter. When you lose Fox News' Tommy Lahren, and she was right to the point. What have we done? Anyway, Eric, I'll see you at 4 o'clock. Hopefully I'll have the show organized enough to do a changeover, a handoff.
Captain Bannon, Admiral Bannon.
We may not. I think we may be in Carlisle Barracks, so we'll figure it all out this afternoon. Bolling, thank you for coming and sitting through my rants. Okay. Short commercial break. Mike Lindell got a big endorsement that he's worked a long time for. Hopefully got him next.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Talk about affordability. Since the subsidies have gone, or a lot of them have gone from Obamacare, that fiasco, people now have to make a decision. Do I put food on the table? Do I pay the mortgage or the rent? Or do I pay for my health insurance? There's an alternative, and we've worked with this company to make sure you can get all the due diligence you need to understand the alternative. America's Health Share. Here's what I do. freedomforhealth.org/Bannon. freedomforhealth.org/Bannon. It's time now for you to do your due diligence. Go there. If you sign up, you get a month free. But that's not the kicker. The kicker is you to understand this is a totally different way to look at, and people have bound together, started with really Christians, and I think the Amish and others that bound together to try to figure out an alternative. And the pricing is pretty dramatic, but you have to understand what you're getting into. And so the due diligence is pretty straightforward. The company's there to answer any question you've got. freedomforhealth.org/Bannon. Go check it out today. America's Health Share. Check it out. Alternative. And we live in times that you might, since the institutions are all collapsing around you, we said that for years. Why is that? Because they're corrupt and led by people that believe in the managed decline of the United States of America. That's our elites. Where they're grabbing more money on the way down, that's your elites, while the institutions in the country failed to perform for the sovereignty of our republic and the American people. Mike Lindell, it is so ironic in the middle of this. We're going to have this discussion tomorrow night, if it gets pulled off. Don't think it's 100% going to get pulled off. Already Paul Sperry over at the Post is reporting that the major networks are not going to cover it. They're saying we're not going to do this. Because people briefed MSNBC, and they're out there saying now, oh, it's all lies, it's misrepresentation, it's more Trump and the wingnuts he's got around him like Mike Lindell and Steve Bannon, the War Room, and others. Lindell, the irony at the very time when they're all trying to say this is all nonsense, and all these groups that try to bankrupt you and try to put you in prison, they're like jackals around President Trump, and so we should never cooperate. Note to the White House, take your number 2 principle and write this down. You do not brief MSNBC. They're not worthy of it. They have not rated that. You do not brief them. You do not give them information. You do not talk to them. They are out there. The reason that President Trump has had assassination attempts is because people at MSNBC stir these young people up with all this hate. It's pure, just watch it. Do you not watch it over the? It's pure bile and hatred 24 hours a day. Why do we do a cold open? And why is 90% of the cold open come from MSNBC and not from CNN or others? We do that because the hatred and the bile comes through. And the War Room Posse can sit there and go, okay, I understand. This is an information war, and I understand where they're coming from. Now, you're also so worked up by the end of that A block that you're ready to go to work to save this country and have the president's back. So, no, they're unworthy of it. They shouldn't even be in the White House. I don't know why you even talking about the press room. If they have a space there, turf them out today. Hell, they only try to imprison, and they're the leaders. Weissman and this entire crowd, are you kidding me? They're worse than the New York Times. Get them out of the White House. They're in the press room. Go down, give them the hook. You're out of here. Buddy, if you want to see it, go watch it on C-SPAN. Mike Lindell, with all that going on, you got a pretty big endorsement today, sir. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, I got up this morning, everybody, and our great president gave me his endorsement for my governor run here in Minnesota, which was absolutely unexpected and amazing. I mean, you guys got to check it out. You can go to lindellgov.com or any of the social media sites where he put up this, where we put it up there. And coming out the day before this big announcement, Steve, it's kind of ironic, just what you're saying. The media has been calling me all morning. CNN is actually going to come to Minnesota to our Donnie. He's going to come to Minnesota for our one of our big events next week, a town hall we're having. But every one of them, I bring up the fact tomorrow night that I said all this evidence that everything's going to be declassified tomorrow night at 8:00. And they're not even talking about that. You're right. They're going to try and suppress it. Or at least hopefully they at least watch it and attack it. I'll be very surprised if Fox News and Newsmax has it on. That would be, up to me, that will be a shocker, but we'll see what happens. But this is where we're at, everybody. Our voice is so much bigger now than it was 5 years ago. This is where we have the big advantage. In this biblical thing we're in of evil versus good, we have such a huge voice now with all the podcast, social media platforms, and other networks. So people don't have to watch MSNBC and Fox and Newsmax and stuff. They're going to get the information one way or another. And my endorsement, Steve, this morning when he endorsed me, it's like everybody immediately knew it once all across the country. I mean, my phone's filled up. Finally, even the Minnesota media here has reached out. Now I've got to badmouth them and say, you guys are the worst in the nation. And now you finally call me because, you found out that I'm going to win now. The primary now I moved up. I think it's 30 points over their darling that they had picked, the establishment had picked, which was Lisa Damas. So, now I can concentrate on finishing our yard signs. We're up to 4,000. We're putting about 2,000 out a day. We're going to the next level of getting money coming in because now we're going. We got to put all the resources into beating, which the president called one of the worst senators and politicians this country's ever seen, Amy Klobuchar.
Did Joe Biden win the 2020 election, Mike Lindell?
Not even close, Steve. He lost by about 6 million votes, maybe even more.
Did he, upon being an illegitimate regime and having an inauguration that had like 50 people show up, you remember, right? That's what kind of crowd you drew. Did he not, sir, over the next couple of years, work with NGOs, work with many of the leftists that you see in Minneapolis to basically have a systematic invasion of this country by at least 20 million illegal aliens, sir?
100%, everybody. And Steve, here's what I tell people about that too. What a blessing the 2020 election was. That's probably one of the biggest blessings our country will ever get in history, because you know what? If they'd have put President Trump in right away, we'd have lost our country forever. They needed to steal that election and hit the ground running to destroy our country from Muslims practicing Islam's illegals coming in, all this invasion. And people, it opens people's eyes, not just, when 80% of the public wants the Save America Act passed of all Democrats and Republicans, of the people. It woke up the people. And this is huge. It's like in Minnesota here, the fraud has waken everybody up in Minnesota. And so I view it as a big blessing, but you're spot on. This is what we fought for 5 years, everybody, but we didn't fight in vain. Here we are. We're starting to see the fruits of our fight. The War Room Posse has stood behind me and my pillow. They brought it up yesterday in the media this morning. Now all of a sudden they're kind of silent on it. Gee, they're attacking My Pillow. Right up until yesterday, we're talking about Arctic Frost, My Pillow being the most attacked company in the history of the United States. Not by voting machine companies. That was even separate. That was a separate attack. Our own government under Biden, starting in 2022, Operation Arctic Frost. This is the IRS, the DOJ, the FBI. They didn't just take Mike Lindell's phone that runs all the businesses. They literally attacked My Pillow, cutting off our vendors, our banks. This is our own government going to our banks to get us debanked, demerchant server. All these things, Steve, were done for one reason, and that was to silence us. Just because we have big platforms here, everybody, but all these attacks have been their agenda to destroy our country, and part of that agenda is to destroy us, to silence us.
I didn't know Mike Lindell, had never met him, didn't know much about him except saw the ads for the pillows all the time until 2021. In fact, when Mike came to me and said he was going to run for governor, I said, brother, we got so much else going on. And I tried to talk him out of it. But I've come full circle. And here's why I've come full circle. I did not realize, not just the summer of love that started, I did not realize how far gone the state of Minnesota is a great state with great people and some of the most beautiful in a country known for its beautiful land. But brother, it is so far gone. It may be as far gone or farther in many aspects than California. It takes someone like you to turn around. Give me a minute or two about your beloved Minnesota. You're a native of what's happened to this great state.
Well, it's so bad, everybody, that woke evil Target is moving out of Minneapolis. They're moving their corporate building and forfeit $110 million on their lease. There's buildings in Minneapolis that were worth $60 million selling for $6 million. It's just destroying our cities, our state. I just checked yesterday. I was meeting with our fishing industry, and we're known as the land of 10,000 lakes. Our great tourism, where our lakes have been destroyed in a lot of ways. And they need to be fixed. They need to be, restocking. All these things that I would take me, 2 hours to tell you just about that segment. Our farmers, our education in Minnesota, we were like top 5 in the nation. We spent 30% more money or 29% more money, and we went down to the bottom third. These are things that are happening as we've been invaded here in Minnesota by illegals, also by you hear about the fraud with the Somalians and Sharia law. It needs to be banned. It's what's happened here, Steve, and I watched it. I'm born and raised here in Minnesota, and it's everything is beautiful. I wouldn't live anywhere else. But I'll tell you what, to turn it into the highest tax, I believe we're the highest taxed state in the country. I would put, when you add in your property tax, your sales tax, your income tax, your corporate tax, we're in the top 2 or 3 of every single category. And Minnesota, you can't afford to be here. Companies are going to move out. I've been told all over Minnesota, Mike, if you don't win, we're leaving. And Minnesota, over the last 3.5 years, we're upside down. I think it's upwards of 50,000 people that have moved out, less or a net of what's moved into Minnesota.
So here's my point.
We need
you have one of the most beautiful states. You have incredibly nice people, and you're losing people. You're losing people because it's a Marxist jihadist regime that controls Minneapolis and is one of the most radical in the country. But at the state level, Walz and these guys are also extremists, sir.
Yeah, absolutely, communists. And they're, let me tell you this. You guys might not know this, but this is a governor that put a satanic statue accepted it from the Satanists and put it in our capital and got an award for it. You know what he told us in Minnesota? He says, well, we got to be fair. Fair to the devil? I mean, I did a speech one time, everybody at the Rose Garden, and I said, a nation had turned its back on God. We had taken God out of our schools. We need to get back and pray for God's grace and get back with our families, get back in the Word. I could have just been talking about Minnesota. We're the tip of the spear on this stuff. You have evil people. And these aren't just bad politicians. You got Keith Ellison, our attorney general, Walz, the governor. You got Elon Omar here. What's taken over? It's a takeover. It's a complete takeover. And we, in Minnesota media, this is the Minnesota media, starting with the Star and Tribune in Minneapolis. Yeah. Shame on them. They're like hiding this from us, trying to hide it from us, but you can't hide it anymore. All this evil stuff. You can't, you talked about MSNBC brainwashing people. This is what media has been doing for a long time. It's disgusting, but we have broke through, and we're gonna take advantage of this and go through the door that no man can shut.
Hang on 1 second. We're gonna continue on with you.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
So we have two confirmation hearings going on. Todd Blanche is taking incoming and fighting back. We'll have more of that, and we'll summarize that tonight and have guests back on to look at that. And we'll have Article 3 and also Grace. We'll have Bill Blasser up. Make sure we're pushing for confirmation here. We need him in. Duly confirmed ASAP. Remember, none of the guys in the Senate were saying they need to do that ASAP. It's obvious why they got Clayton up there and why they're trying to force it through. He's not going to rock the boat of the deep state at all. We need the deep state confronted, and you're particularly going to need them confronted after tomorrow night. Who runs this country? The elected officials? And even in that regard, if Bernie Sanders or AOC, God forbid, ever get elected, God forbid, it'd probably have to be work of the deep state. But who's going to run the country? Is it Donald John Trump as commander-in-chief and chief executive and the chief magistrate and chief law enforcement officer? Is it the followers, the heirs to the MAGA movement, whoever that might be? Are you the citizen sovereign, or we have a permanent government made up of these intelligence agencies, law enforcement, and the military-industrial complex? Now infested with the tech bros, the oligarchs, and the lords of easy money on Wall Street. Is that who really runs the country? Well, if that's the case, then let's have it out now. No need to kind of, oh my gosh, they run the country. Let's just throw down now. You're not going to throw down with a guy like Jay Clayton. Those answers you just gave right there are just gobbledygook. Or as my beloved mother would say when I was trying to spin her on something I'd done, that's just mumbo jumbo. That's just mumbo jumbo. Or word salad. You pick it, any phrase you want. We need somebody who can cut to the heart of it and can take action, not a careerist. Jay Clayton's just a careerist. This is Sullivan and Cromwell going to sit there and play patty cake with Tom Cotton, all the people that want him in, and they're all glazing him. And they're all going to say, yeah, we're going to, they're so interested in the defense of the country and the national security of the country, right, that they're going to gun deck and just whip somebody through there. That where's the form that we all have to do of every foreign contact you've had in the last 10 years? That's a requirement. What about the time as general counsel at Alibaba and getting that through to take it public in the United States, which is a travesty because we're just funding the Chinese Communist Party military side. What about that? Think that might have a question or two? They're hammering Todd Blanche over there for minutia. Because they're trying to build a record, and yet you got somebody who's going to be DNI that, particularly on the eve of revelations, they're going to show that maybe the intelligence apparatus has not exactly been forthcoming. That took a couple of outsiders like Pulte and John Solomon to go in there in the last 4 weeks, and they should get the Presidential Medal of Freedom for what they've done, and they should all get food tasters. I can tell you, those guys are not suicidal. I wouldn't put anything past the intelligence apparatus of this country. Mike, we got to bounce. I got to hear about the great thing. But as we're speaking, the Daily Mail puts up, and that's the biggest website in the world, puts up as their lead story The Walz, the governor of Minnesota, is protecting some pedophile and dumping on the White House for wanting to deport him. Dude, what in the hell is going on in Minnesota, sir? Look at this right here. This is why we're talking. I didn't tell the Daily Mail you got to put up a prop for us on this is as we're talking. It pops, sir.
You see the headlines there, sympathy for the devil. I mean, this is what he puts a satanic statue in the Capitol. But let me tell you about the illegals here in Minnesota. We are housing, it takes $85,000 per illegal in Minnesota to put them in our prisons. These are your rapists, your pedophiles, your murderers. We pay $110 million a year to keep them in our jails rather than our prisons, rather than deporting them all back to the countries they're from. And everyone says, well, Mike, they'd be set free then. No, we already have agreements with those countries. Hey, you take these people back and put them in your own prisons. So we don't have to pay for them here. Walz is out of his mind. But once again, everybody, you got to look at all these crazy things as blessings, because it's opening people's eyes that even people on the middle left are going, this doesn't even make sense. So common sense is where we're winning, everybody. Common sense. And so I look at it as all these things that, who would have thought 15, 20 years ago we're arguing about men and women sports and transvestites
and Satan having a monument honoring in the state capitol. Give me, it's too crazy. Talk to me about the deal. Talk to me about your deals. That's what people want to know about. What do you got?
You guys, these deals come around once every 250 years. And we're still standing in Minnesota, My Pillow, because of all of you out there at the War Room Posse. So we're giving back. We put together a 4-pack special that we make right in our factory. Four pillows, $49.98. 2 go anywhere, 2 premium My Pillows. It's a War Pack special, War Room special. Call it the War Pack. That's cool. $49.98. And you guys, if you go to mypillow.com, and we also have the Mega 2 sale. That's where these sales are combining. This Mega 2 sale, we just got more colors of our sheets in as low as $29.98. This is the president's favorite product, by the way, of My Pillow, is the Giza Dream Sheets. You guys, you've never slept on anything like it. Then you have the My Towels. In the commercial, I say towels that actually work. That means they're built to dry you. Plus, they look great and they feel great, but they actually dry you. $39.98, and then you have the My Pillow premiums and the made in the USA mattress toppers and mattresses. The mattress, by the way, everybody, is still 50% off. You go to mypillow.com/war room. Check out all of the sales we're having. These come once every 250 years, where there's like 3 sales now combining this week to celebrate all the stuff that's going on. We have good things coming, and you guys deserve it all. Free shipping options available if you call right now. It's 800-873-1062. Use that promo code War Room. And tell you, my reps have been hearing it all morning. Congratulations from across the country, calling in and congratulating me on my endorsement. Sure. So you guys have helped us. We're giving back. Take advantage of all these sales right now.
Thank you, brother. See you this afternoon. President's going to be at Carlisle Barracks. There's still 2 confirmation hearings. A Charlie Kirk show follows us. Posto after that. We're back at 5. I'm going to try to do a handoff with Bolling in his 4 o'clock show at about 4:50. If we get everything organized, got McCabe up at Carlisle Barracks. Want to thank the team at Birch Gold for supporting us. Take your phone out and text Bannon, BANNO, at 989898. It's free, no obligation, the ultimate guide for investing in gold and precious metals. Philip Patrick on Saturday. We'll go through all of it then.